Hi Karen. Hello. Just gonna live a couple of minutes early just to let people join in. Hi Sue. Hi Leah. Thank you for joining us. I'll just give it a couple of minutes, let people join in. Oh, thanks Karen. Oh dear. Hello Boozy Book Club. Well, that sounds like the book club that I want to join. Oh, hi Sue. Just give it a minute. I think I went live a little bit early anyway, so I'll just give it a minute or so. Hopefully I can get going. Hi Amy, yay! Right, I'll get going. So, welcome to our March Point Horror Book Club. Thank you for joining me, and today we are going to be talking about the Cheerleader, woo! With the tagline, she wants it all, but he wants blood. Yes. Very much so. I really enjoyed the Cheerleader. I've got this copy, so this is the UK cover. I've got this like shiny copy as well, which I've just started collecting again, and it also comes in like this collection, Caroline B. Cooney collection, so that's got like the whole trilogy in, because the Cheerleader is actually part of a trilogy. So I'm excited to read the rest as well. So today I have a brilliant author joining me for the chat. She's a Point Horror fan, yay! And she's actually got a book coming out on Thursday the 1st called Mina and the Undead. I've been talking about it all over my socials, but if you like vampires and 90s and gothic and pop culture references, like loads of pop culture references, then Mina and the Undead is absolutely brilliant, and I should be getting my finished copy like hopefully tomorrow, maybe on release day Thursday, so I can't wait for that. But yeah, check it out, it's out on Thursday. So I'm just going to try and invite Amy into the chat, hopefully it will work. If there are any internet issues or anything, I'll because I have been cutting out a bit sometimes, I'll just restart the live. But if I send Amy, so I'm just inviting Amy onto the chat, hopefully. Hi Amy.
Hello, I'm here.
Hello, thank you for being here. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay, everything else?
Yeah, all okay, yeah. We can see all your spooky pop vinyls in the background as well.
I did set them up just for you.
Oh,
my full collection's there. I'm just turning my volume up a little bit.
Oh, you want to hear this Brummy accent, like louder? So just to start off, I mentioned you're a Point Horror fan, so what got you into Point Horror? Do you remember, or what do you like about Point Horror?
Yeah, I can remember. So I'd read as many Sweet Valley High books, Sweet Valley University I'd moved on to. I'd read all the Babysitters Club books, and I just wanted something grittier and meatier. And I don't remember what my first Point Horror was. I think it was possibly The Babysitter.
Yeah.
But I just remember finding them so exciting, just dark enough. I'd always been into the idea of watching horror films, never allowed to watch them. And it just kind of filled that gap where it was accessible and not too scary, but just really great, compelling stories, some great characters, some terrible characters. But and I remember they used to cost £2.99, and I used to save up my pocket money so that I could Point Horror. That shows how old we are.
Yeah. Oh, this one, my copy here is actually £3.99, but this is like not my original copy. But yeah, they were definitely like £2.50 or £2.99 or something like that. Back in the day. But yeah, thanks to everyone for joining us. Hi Emma, hi Jacqueline. If you've got any comments or anything as we're talking, just pop them up and I'll try and remember to flick through and read them out. because I'm sure we've got plenty to say about absent parents in this one. But yeah, so we'll get going. So the Cheerleader starts on a dark and chilly November, so it sets the tone straight away. Pizza Hut is the hit place to be, and Althea wants a slice. Took me all week to think of that joke.
It was good.
So yeah, so basically, gosh, Althea really wanted to be popular. So popular, didn't she? Nobody's ever entered her shuttered tower room. And I'm not sure how other people pronounced Althea's name, but I used to know an Althea, so I'm just pronouncing it how she used to pronounce it, but I don't know whether it's right.
I know a Thea, so I went for Althea, but...
Ah, okay. I've heard it announced, pronounced quite different, but anyway, the Althea I knew was Althea, so it doesn't matter.
It's wrong anyway.
But yes, in her tower room, she released a living person out of a coffin, apparently, but we never saw the coffin again. And it was a vampire. Oh no. But as long as the vampire can make Althea popular, then Althea is totally fine with that.
Of course she is. She's absolutely fine with the silver foil nails.
Yes.
Skin like a mushroom, it's fine as long as she can just be popular.
As long as she's popular, because she's got to get down to McDonald's and Pizza Hut and sit in those booths, hasn't she?
It's so 90s. I do remember the allure Pizza Hut and
but mainly she wants to get on the cheerleading squad. But yeah, there was a lot of Pizza Hut talk. It made me rather hungry. Be on the phone like dialing a pizza. But Althea soon discovers that there is a price to being popular. Surely handing over one victim will be enough for the vampire, won't it? Or is Althea going to have to lose everything? So I like the premise of the Cheerleader. I thought it was really good, the way it set up the story and the being popular and things like that. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I found in some ways, we had a little chat beforehand, and I was saying how some of the lines made me cringe a little bit, and they felt but the overall setup and premise actually felt really modern and quite dark, because I think in some point horrors you've got this kind of virtuous, redeemable main character who gets pulled into the situation beyond her control, and actually Althea was, for a lot of the time, felt like she was in control, and she was just deciding to throw everybody under the bus or throw everybody under the vampire's fangs. And I thought that was quite interesting, and that did have quite a modern feel, really.
Yeah.
She wasn't just like the Sydney from Scream, the kind of virtuous heroine. She was a bit dark. For all that she was sweet, she would,
Yeah, no, definitely.
She'd do anything, and I thought it was quite interesting. I think Emma said that she liked the fact of how bad she was,
how selfish. Yeah.
I've lost the comment.
She was selfish, but I mean, we've met other selfish characters, like I'm looking at Joanna from The Boyfriend, which we read last month, but she was selfish, but she always seemed to justify everything, every decision she kind of justified. But basically she was kind of lonely, wasn't she? And she was always popular in middle school, and basically she just wanted to be a cheerleader, date someone on the basketball team. I've made a note here saying those silver horseback riding ribbons ain't gonna win themselves. So I think that's how popular she kind of wanted to be, or how popular she was.
Yeah, I think that's quite relatable, isn't it? When at that age, I remember that feeling of moving to middle school and then moving from middle school to secondary school. It's been really scary, and kind of suddenly you're thrown into a class, and in one of my classes I remember not knowing a single person except one friend.
No, definitely, yeah.
I never gave anybody to a vampire because of it, but I think she was quite relatable, that you can see how that pressure of wanting to fit in and feel part of something that she'd been part of before is really alluring. And I thought the book did that really well, actually. There were points where I really, really disliked it, but overall I think she was kind of a bit relatable and a bit like sympathetic.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and she was only 16, and the kind of description that was made of her in the book was that she was gentle with sweet features, a demure posture, a distinctive whispery tremor.
I know the description. I did write a note next to that. Like, yeah, Emma says she feels sorry for the poor love. I do too, Emma. People keep saying to her, don't they? You all right? Do you need some juice? Have you got a scratch? Like, no, that's just my voice.
Just every time like I kept hearing her speak, though, I just in my head it was like scream, like hello Sydney. It was like, hello vampire. But I couldn't get it out of my head the whole time that I was reading it. And she had a huge dislike for those shutters. Like the shutters in those shuttered rooms should have stayed shut. Oh, I managed to say it. But yeah, don't be fooled by her though. She considering she didn't like to lie, she did throw some of her friends to the vampires, or friends I'll say loosely. But luckily for Althea, she wasn't actually in the vampire's dark path, but only if she did his bidding. I like the setting, I like spooky house and the attic and things like that. I think it really gave it a good dark feel. Do you? It was
yeah, I did, and I think I'm quite drawn to houses like that. Whenever I see a house with turrets or that has that tower look, and I like the idea of it being quite remote and on the outskirts of the community, I think that that's got all the makings of a really good horror setting. I kind of maybe wanted a little bit more of the periphery. I wasn't sure, were we talking about woods in the background, or see maybe around the house.
The trees around the house, because he kept trying to lure people outside to the trees. Yeah
the shadows that he see. Did he see in a shadowy form into the hemlock trees or something like that? Yeah, that was cool. I really liked.
But the thing that shocked me the most, I think this is going to come up quite a lot, is where the hell was her parents the whole time?
And also Becky said
there.
It confused me. When I was 16, I'm pretty sure that my mum wouldn't have said, oh, just have your friend and a boy over. It's fine. Of course you can. And we'll just appear in the morning to check that you're all right.
Yeah, like it was like, I mean, Point Horror is known for like ditching the parents, you know. I'm sure I've noted down somewhere that not Althea's parents, but somebody's parents, one of the friends, we didn't get a mention of parents till like about page 116 or something like that in this book. But Althea's parents just didn't exist. And like, did the vampire migrate them? Like, did he?
I was going to say to you, I don't know whether you've planned this later, Shell. Sorry if I'm skipping ahead.
No.
What was all the vampire terminology about in this book? Because with the dark path that he was pulling people onto and the migrating people, like, did you get to the end of the book and know what migrating was?
No, but in my head it was rude. I was like, this is some dodgy vampire.
No, and it made me a little bit uncomfortable that he was this older male vampire and he was migrating young teenage girls. It just sounded like a word for something else, and I don't know.
Ray has put the parents were in book 2 with a different girl. What?
So I can't remember the next books in the series. No. Is it it's a vampire in each one, or is it the same vampire in each one but a different family maybe? I'm not sure.
I can't 100% remember. I'm definitely going to have a reread. And so yes, apparently, yeah, it was. Okay, I'm quite interested to read that now. But yeah, he wasn't our classic he was a classic vampire, but you and me know what vampires we like.
Hold on, I'll get these are just on my desk. This is always a company of writing.
Oh yeah, so that is our kind of vampire.
There's no mushroom skin or foil nails inside. Oh yeah, vampire I think is. Yeah, I'm not very good at these comments, Shell. Vampires.
Oh no, sorry.
The ones in the book.
Book 3 has got 2 vampires. What?
Yeah, see, we like the handsome vampires. I am reading the comments now. I don't know. I like a scary vampire in some contexts, but when I talk about all my favourite ones, I think of Spike, Damon, Eric, and they all do have certain characteristics.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely the same. Like a lot of the True Blood vampires, I'm like, yeah. But this vampire,
We've got one vampire in the Shutters and one under the floor in the next book, I think.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to read them now just to like, just see. But no, the vampire in the Cheerleader, I did a poll thing on Instagram the other day, like tell me your favourite vampires, and Dustin from Dustin Can Read said his favourite vampire was Barnabas Collins from Dark Shadows, but like from the 1960s. Yeah. And as soon as he said it, I was like, that is like the vampire in the Cheerleader. It just like, as soon as I saw a picture, I was like, that's him, like old classic style vampire. But considering his love for like dark drapery clothing and his goth look, he bloody hated rock music.
That's a vampire mythology that I just found so random. It was like through this well-trodden territory, and I'm going to do it with these completely random things that nobody will ever copy again. Not the rock music, no.
Not the rock music, but yeah, he didn't like the sound of joy, or definitely as well no dancing, but more on that later with Ryan. But yeah, so our kind of vampire is like the sexy kind, and you definitely wouldn't want to kiss this vampire from the Cheerleader with his like tongue that's like rolled up like a can.
No, can I just interrupt you with one of the comments? The only vampire I've liked is Brad Pitt for Interview with the Vampire.
Ah,
completely agree.
Yes, no, definitely. Oh, my comments haven't been, I must have left it further up, that's why I couldn't see that. But yes, oh, Brooker, that is. Hi, Brooker. Yeah, Brad Pitt from The Vampire, I do agree with that as well. And Lost Boys as well, yeah, I've actually got, I don't know, oh dear, got a Lost Boys t-shirt on.
Amazing.
Yeah, so.
See, I would say that Lost Boys is maybe my favourite vampire film, definitely one of my top 3, but
yeah.
I don't know, probably not my favourite vampires, if that makes sense. Like, I absolutely love the whole feel of the film and the music, and I mean, the Corys is just like a recipe for me loving any film.
No, definitely. That's who I named. My son's called Corey, and I named him because I was such a fan of the Lost Boys and the Corey Haim mainly. That I was like, when I have a child, and if he's a boy, he's going to be called Corey. And I did go ahead with that. Oh, someone else has got the same. Oh, a sweater version. Oh, they do a sweater version of this t-shirt. Might have to have a look at that. I knew we'd go off track about all these sexy vampires. People are just tuning in. Then yeah, you're in for a treat. So with the vampire as well in the Cheerleader, I love the way the descriptions of him like fleeting around the house and like just disappearing and then looming in the trees. I actually found it, like, for the time in the 90s that it was written, I do think it's actually a little bit scary, that like the fleeting around and stuff. And I thought, oh, actually did give me the creeps a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that. I quite often read point horrors now with that kind of nostalgic feel, and this one definitely did, I don't know, actually get under my skin a little bit, and kind of, you know, that gives you that visceral reaction of shivers and fear, like you said. And
yeah, definitely.
It was that quality of how much was Althea in control and how much was he, and the fact that he was manipulating her whole life is just a scary idea, actually, that it wasn't just, because at first I was thinking maybe he was just making her more confident and kind of more to see her own strength, but then he just took it all away, and I found that quite a clever idea, really, and quite scary.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a line that he says something like, oh, ice cream man, sorry. Yeah, there's a line that he says, I think, and I was like, oh, I think it was, I wrote it down, I made you, I will unmake you. And I thought, oh, that's just so like like creepy, and like, oh, I really thought, yeah, like you can give it and then just take it away just like that.
Yeah, Emma said he's watching her. I think anything like that where you know that the villain is just there all the time.
Yeah, in the shadows watching you like all the time. Yeah, definitely. And sometimes I do try, I love point horror, and I do try and sometimes find like the funny bits, so I tend to pull out certain bits, but with the Cheerleader it was kind of hard a little bit. But there was one point where the vampire started rhyming and he was like, when I see upon whose shoulder your arm rests, I will know who follows Celeste. And I thought, was that intentional, or was it just an accident that it rhymed?
Such a happy bit of point horror magic. Yes,
no, definitely.
It was really well done in the book, and I agree. I think that the introduction of the vampire was a really powerful scene because, I don't know, there wasn't that overtelling that there is of some of the point horrors. It left you to fill in a lot of the gaps, like, had he targeted her? Had he always been in the house? Or
yeah, where did he come from? Oh dear. And then he's talking about migrations, as we said, like when he at one point he said, I was able to migrate within Celeste's boundaries, and I was just like, It's probably just my dirty mind though, Amy. So.
I was deeply concerned for all of the girls in this book.
I think Karen's put, I didn't even spot the rhyming. I think it might have just been me, Karen, to be honest, because I just find these weird things sometimes. But yeah, he was, yeah, there was probably others and I probably just didn't notice it. But yeah, I think that moving on to let's move on. I'll tell you what, let's move on to the love interest. So Ryan.
Well, once you made a mind up, let's move on to love interest.
Well, she was a bit indecisive, and I kind of like that about her. She was like,
she was having both of them, wasn't she? Because she went on a date with them both.
Well, yes, she did, actually.
She said something about the being between so many muscles.
Well, I class Ryan as the love interest only because he was the one that she kind of ended up with when she was popular.
Yeah.
But he just gets pure point horror points for that dance by the car. I don't know.
It wasn't
little swaying
hits.
And I was like, oh, hello, Ryan.
We've thought before, haven't we, how there are two types of point horror boys. There's like the kind of muscles footballer who will dance by a car outside your window, and he's definitely that category, isn't he? And
I think he was kind of conflicted. So like the description of him, he's like sweet, funny, muscular, cute and bright and bouncy, and he loved his food and he loved rock music. So he was kind of like a classic point horror love interest, but I actually do think he was a bit of a geek as well. And you know, Shelley likes a geek. She always goes for the geeky ones.
The red bottom saying lucky girl, yeah.
Lucky girl. We just need someone to dance by a car for us, and then we're happy. But I did love Ryan, and his love of astronomy held no bounds with his telescope. What was that all about?
I've got it with me at all times.
Oh, really?
Right, put your telescope away. Come on.
Oh, and the way that he could name every muscle in his weightlifter's body, and he thought nothing of smashing out a Big Mac in 4 bites. I mean, how is that even possible? If that was me, it would just go like straight down.
I did stop at that bit of the book and like measure a Big Mac in my hand.
How could you? I don't. We need to do like a challenge to see if that's actually possible at some point, maybe like after lockdown or something. 4-bite Big Mac.
Like point horror, like improbable challenges of things that they say that you can do in a point horror book. So that can be number 1. We'll collect them as we go on.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Welcome to Horror Points. This reminds me of my mister.
We need video evidence, Leah. We need proof that Ryan's not lying. But yeah, and his dodgy car as well. Oh, that made me laugh. Like with only one working door.
conversation with the police where he was like really apologising to the police that they pulled him over. And
oh
like
gosh. Oh, he had to, Sarah's put she's willing to try the Big Mac challenge. Yay! This is going to be hashtag Point Hard Book Club Big Mac challenge. Oh dear. But yeah, I loved him, and he was really totally obsessed with Althea's tower room and getting his telescope erected up there. For stargazing though. Gosh, you're so dirty-minded, all of you. Oh dear. But I think I wrote down like just some funny things that I've picked up that he said about his telescope. So I put this one I put, we'll give you rides when you need one, but I think again that's probably my humour. That was probably innocent.
No, I don't think so. I think this book is just really filthy, like all the way through.
I have a telescope you could learn on.
Oh,
okay. I'm still waiting to be allowed to use my telescope in your tower room.
Where to start with that one? Wow.
There's no way that is innocent. No way. And then I picked this one up, but I had to read back because what the quote is, we could play telescope together. And I was like, I'm sure Ryan didn't say that. And when I looked, it was Becky. Okay, Becky.
Becky wants to join in with the
yeah.
See, it's not just us, very dirty. I agree. Somebody has just said a little bit above, and I'm not really... Oh, Karen has said that she thought that Althea was the vampire. I completely agree.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Be a reveal at the ending, either that she was the vampire all along, or that he was gradually turning her to be like him, and I thought that might be the ending.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the same. I do think that the vampire was like some type of, I want to say like
nails. It was the red nails. I agree.
Yeah, the whole red nails thing. What was with that on the bed? Like,
when her
honestly,
pointy. Nina said she's loving the innuendos. By the way, you cannot have a conversation with me and Shalt without them. I'm sorry.
No.
Even worse. Yeah, and it wasn't there something. Did it mention about her teeth? She was wondering whether her teeth look pointy. Yeah, the lack of a family.
Oh, yeah.
Look elongated and red.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, definitely. I wasn't really sure what to make of the end, but actually you all sway in my opinion. Oh, thanks for joining in, Brooker. I think Brooker's got to go to work. But thank you. Leah's put like would go over a teen's head or would give something to
like the innuendo.
Yeah.
It would have been all innuendo. We'd have been finding examples of it and probably highlighting. Writing on post-it notes. That's how I roll tonight.
No, definitely. But we'll talk about Becky then, as I've just mentioned her. But she was hi Josh. She was an early worm. Black hair, bouncy ponytail. I've tried to do a bouncy ponytail. Just like to go all cheerleader. Woo, woo. She had a pixie smile and she was a hugger. She was apparently very bunny rabbit like. I picked that up. And apparently she was the best cheerleader, even though it made her slightly breathless. And her parents basically let her do anything she wants. So her parents must have been the ones mentioned on page 116 or something like that. But basically, she loved talking about her hair, Becky.
She was obsessed with volume, wasn't she?
Yeah. So the hair came second priority over finding a boyfriend, though. That was like top priority.
Say that the hair would lead to the boyfriend. Obviously, layering your hair.
Yeah. I think there was like a conversation between like Becky and Althea about hair, and then her hairstyle and things like that. And she was like, "Oh no, but finding a boyfriend is my highest priority." But yeah, she was kind of like the popular bitchy one at the beginning, but then she turned into this like nervous, needy character. And was that the effect of the vampire or Althea's increased popularity? Like, I think Althea said like a board game analogy at some point, which was actually quite a good way of thinking about it. But yeah, do you think like I know that she didn't get migrated by the vampire in the end, but do you think something spooky happened in those bushes, or do you think she was just
Do you know, I
losing
was
it?
there because the tiredness was the way that you told that the vampire had his way with you.
Yeah.
And like Becky was tired, then Althea was tired, and then Becky was tired. I was a bit like, has he just been like really busy that evening with his migrating, or are they just genuinely tired? So I have no idea. I feel like in the end he didn't go for Becky. I think Becky was trying to give Ryan and Althea some alone time.
Ah, yes, yes, definitely.
So she stood in a bush like any good.
If you don't hide in a bush for your friend, what type of friend are you?
I'll hide in a bush for you any day.
And you, Amy, yes. Considering like it was called the Cheerleader though, like there wasn't really much cheerleading going on, really, was there, in the whole book? But little bits. But yeah, so the vampire claimed 2 victims. So we had Celeste and Jenny. So victim number 1, she was only 14 and she was like hugely popular, and she made the varsity cheerleading team as a freshman, which is unusual, I'm guessing. I'm not sure. I presume it's unusual for the for cheerleading and things like that. So my notes for Celeste were she was more romantic dream than scream. I love that line. I just thought that was such a good line. Soft golden hair, sparkly eyes, pale pink nails, and a pretty giggle that made her bite her lower lip and make others tremble in delight, apparently. She was 14. I was a bit like, oh.
Bella and what's her face from 50 Shades of Grey, doesn't she bite her lip a lot as well?
Yeah, like
I feel that lip biting makes them really appealing, but
I have to remember that. Bite my lip more. I'll just end up looking like weird, like.
Hi, are you okay, Sol? I'm being
just I've put myself off now. I'm thinking about biting lips. So yes, so basically she was extraordinarily beautiful for a 14-year-old, which it was just a little bit weird.
I heard she was 18 or 19, and I know maybe it did seem a little off when they said at the end of all that, and by the way, she's 14.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. But once she put the cheerleading outfit on, she shimmered like a mirage and became a star. So point horror star. So, and then obviously there was a whole scene where I think Althea was like looking at her neck and like, oh, what a lovely swan-like neck.
That was the vampire thing. That was another moment where she was fixating on her neck. I did wonder, vampire, but
yeah, it was because like 1 minute it made me giggle because 1 minute she was like fixated on her neck, like, oh, nice neck for my vampy. And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, we're friends now. So she was like, it was quite funny, it made me laugh. But other than that, for Celeste, I wasn't really that fussed when she got, I'm going to keep saying migrated. I think we all know what we mean now. But yeah, I wasn't really that fussed about her, really. But yeah, and the same with Jenny. Like, I mean, there's other victims that she could have turned over, really. But Jenny, poor old Jenny, she didn't really get a chance to shine. She was accidentally thrown over to the vampire with a hug.
A bit harsh, wasn't it? Like, oh, nice moment of reunion. Oh, whoops, I've just you. Sorry.
I think Althea did it on purpose, really, for her telling that jelly donut story at the party. It's like, don't you share my jelly donut secrets with anyone. But yeah, so the two kind of victims, I wasn't really. I enjoyed it in the way that it was done, but I was a bit like, yeah, the vampire can keep them. I'm not really that bothered. What about you? Did you like Celeste or Jenny?
Neither of them really had that much substance. I thought Jenny had potential, that she could have sort of grounded Althea a bit and reminded her of the person she used to be, but she didn't get the chance. She just got grated out of the story.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it wasn't too.
Yeah, and Celeste was just that kind of irritating, like kind of too perfect archetypal teen. I think she could have done with a little bit more substance under the blonde hair and sparkles and.
Yeah, no, definitely. Karen's put, do you think maybe the migration thing is more about the vampire being able to widen their reach to other victims, maybe in the tower at the start, but could reach the town by the end due to migration? Yeah.
A purpose for it. Like, it's a really specific word, but I just couldn't by the end for the life of me work out what it was. But yeah, that is a really good theory. That's a lot more logical than the things I was coming up with. But
yeah, I was just like, yeah, that's a really good theory actually, because my theory was just like smut. I was just like, I don't really know what was going on most of the time.
I think the dark path lost me a little bit as well, because at some point an actual dark path extended out in front of her, which I thought
Yeah.
was an image, but then I couldn't really figure out what it was either. Like, did he need to be on his path to migrate you? But again, what those things are, I don't know.
Well, yes.
You migrate that paths, Raina.
So then I'll just quickly run over. So we had Michael, who was like the second love interest. I actually kind of liked him. I thought he was all right. But what have I put? Althea was originally pining after him. Michael was apparently athletic perfection, like Ryan, but more so. So we're all liking Ryan. We're meant to really like Michael. So he was dating Constance. Now, Constance to me should have just been thrown to that vampire. She was just too perfect. But yeah, apparently all he gave his friends was pizza and rides, car rides. I should have said no rides.
We know what you though. We know.
Yes. And I kind of liked the bromance that he had with Ryan. Like when he was mourning like Ryan's car, gone to the great car dump in the sky. And his bromance with Ryan was just really good. I liked that, and the way they bounced off each other.
Yeah, I agree with Emma. It was strange that she was really obsessed with this idea of this couple. And I thought that was going to go somewhere. I thought Constance was going to bite the dust in some sort of.
I did. I thought that, but I'm a little bit cruel. I was like, throw her to the vampire. She's too perfect.
What do you think of not showing the vampire scenes? Because it's very deliberate. Like every time that the vampire had made his decision and she had, it just ended and then restarted with the tired girl. Like I didn't know whether that was intentional to give you that minute of like seeing yourself how it worked, but it just makes
things that mystery as well, doesn't it? It's, again, like to make your own imagination go a little bit wild, maybe. But yeah, it was interesting the way Caroline B. Cooney did that. It's all like off page, really. Maybe, yeah. I was intrigued, but maybe it was definitely intentional. She definitely wrote it that way, so you could just make up your own mind on what was going to happen with the migration. But yeah, so 𝐂𝐚𝐫𝐿 is another character. The hand clapper extraordinaire. Like every time she's on the page, she kind of clapped her hands.
Was it maybe her editor just walked in every time there was any horror and she went, no, take the horror out of the point horror.
Oh, Emma's just said maybe, going back to your point, was she trying not to be too gory? So yeah, maybe for the teen market, she had to take some of the gore out. Have you found that with any of your writing, Amy, like with Mina or anything? Did you have to tone down any of the gore or anything?
There was only one bit where I had to do that. So I described a serial killer. Somebody's wearing a mask of Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I did start talking about a serial killer who used to make things out of human flesh. And my agent made me tone that down a tiny bit. So I said,
whoa!
said the things that he made with them, but not how he made them, because apparently that was too far for YA. And that was the only bit where she said, you've gone a little bit too far. I think generally I use my judgment of I think having read so much adult horror, YA horror and point horror, which is obviously the kind of lighter end, and I just kind of made my judgment. Mostly I got it right. I did overstep the boundary a bit with the flesh lampshades and dresses and stuff.
No, yeah. So maybe that's maybe that's what it was. So like, as Ray said, the bossy editor maybe taking the gore out and leave it up to the reader's imagination.
Yeah. Point horrors were quite packaged, weren't they? And they came, I know they came over from the States, so maybe there was a certain, like, they fell down on certain things, like they couldn't be a point horror if they had too much. Well, there's some gory. I remember Death by Piranha in one was a favourite of ours. I can't remember which one it was.
I know which one it was, but I don't want to say because I don't want to spoil it. But there is a book, point horror book, that has a Death by Piranhas. And it's a brilliant book. It's actually one of my favourites. But yeah, that was just brilliant.
Read them all to find it.
Yeah. If anyone wants to know what it was, DM me and I'll tell you. But I don't want to say and spoil it for anyone if they haven't read it. But yeah, that was a brilliant one. Almost as well. No, that was brilliant. And then there's one with like Death by Cheese. So yeah, a classic point horror there. Josh has put, what must read? I'll DM you which one it is. But I just want to quickly mention, while we're just talking about characters as well, the coach, Mrs. Roundman, because she just, have you ever, I don't know, did you ever watch Glee?
Yeah.
So she reminded me of Coach Beast from Glee, and I just couldn't get it out of my head. But yeah, she was like deliciously cruel to the cheerleaders, like when Celeste was like, had been migrated by the vampire and she was like tired and that, she was basically like, get up, go away from the cheerleaders.
Wasn't there something about a spread, like they couldn't?
Yeah, I think it was, you act as if you'd run out of energy spreading peanut butter on Wonder Bread. She was just like, great. And what is cheerleading? An activity for melted marshmallows? I was like, oh, she was brilliant. I think we needed more of Mrs. Roundman, definitely.
He was the representative adult of the book and she was pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So fashion wise, normally in point horrors I pick up like fashion faux pas, I call them, but this one was actually pretty hard to find anything. So there's a lot of like white cotton turtlenecks, white silk blouses and crimson sweaters, so it was all very like Interview with the Vampire. I just kept imagining. And obviously a lot of letter jackets for the cheerleaders, but I didn't really find anything else. But normally we get some like proper good 90s like dodgy clothes, but this one, it all seemed just very quite gothic and red and white and things like that. But I don't know whether anyone else picked any up, but
I didn't pick any.
Certainly.
It was the hair that made me chuckle, how Becky really wanted to talk about her hair. Anyway.
Like constantly her hair, constant. So body count wise, we're kind of saying technically 0, because no one actually died.
No,
yeah, but as Celeste and Jenny became shells of their former selves, we don't exactly know if they return back to normal. Whether they're in the sequels, I don't know. If anyone's read them, are any of the same characters in the sequel? Be interesting. But who knows how many more victims the vampire claimed. So yeah. Yeah, I thought it was actually quite scary. I always say, is it scary? I thought it was scary, as we mentioned above, like, and a lot of it are that none of the same characters are in the sequels. Mind you, I don't know why I'm saying boo, because most of them I didn't really like. Apart from Ryan. Why can't Ryan be in the sequel, like Chuck in The Babysitter 2? He was in The Babysitter and The Babysitter 2. I've really gone off on a tangent thinking about Chuck now. He's like my point horror boy until you get to the sequel.
Is he from The Babysitter? I've completely blocked him out.
Yeah, so he was in The Babysitter. He's like the jokester, so you know what kind of point horror boys that I always like. So he's like the classic, but then in like the sequel, he goes a bit weird, like a bit like, okay, we'll leave him in the original.
Jughead from Riverdale is who I think of when I think of like your point horror type boy, like
Jughead. Oh yeah, if you look behind, look, they're all my Riverdale pop vinyls.
I've only got one pop Riverdale one, which is Archie, so I'm on the other side, like kind of jock.
So I always ask, did the best friend do it? So technically in this one, no, the best friend didn't do it, but in a kind of way she did, because Althea befriended all the people and she kind of became the best friend, and then she just threw them to vamps. So technically she did. I'm going with a win on that one. But yeah, just to summarise, to finish off, this is just a classic point horror. The cover's iconic. Like, you see this and you know, I mean, you wouldn't guess really that was about a vampire though, and just looking at the cover.
Fast, does it? Like blood on, you know, I don't know. I don't even know whether migrating has anything to do with blood, honestly. But
no, oh no, so weird. But yeah, but what's not to love about this? I mean, I really liked it, and I have to say, like in my teens, and I've said this before, when I've read Caroline B. Cooney's books and point horrors, like I don't think as a teen I actually gave her enough credit for how good she is. Just like even when we're just saying then, like, you didn't see what the vampire did, and that just, everyone's probably got their own interpretation, and that is just really, really clever. And as a teen I was like bloodthirsty for like the stalking of the teens books, whereas I do remember picking this up and I never really gave it a chance. I read a couple of chapters and like, vampire, I wasn't really into it. But yeah, I really liked it overall, and I do think like Caroline B. Cooney for me is like up there with the point horror, or one of the best point horror authors. And as I say, I didn't give her enough credit when I was younger, which I regret because she's so good. But what about you, Amy? Did you?
See, I was all about R.L. Stine when I was younger, and some of them I've reread and thought, yeah, actually they are brilliant, but others he misses the mark a little bit, and I think it borders onto the trashy and doesn't have that timeless quality like the Cheerleader, although there were some bits that let it down in, like, you could tell it was 90s.
Yeah,
I do think that overall that was like a really well plotted out. I thought that the actual horror writing was really good, and although some of the wording could have been a little bit better, migrating in dark paths and whatnot.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I thought that it was a really, really good, solid point horror. Like maybe one of the better ones I've read recently, actually.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely one. I'm really intrigued to read the sequel and, well, the other two books now, from what everyone's said in the chat. But Ray's put, Karen's put, why does the pom-pom look like it's made of fur? And then Ray's put, the pom-pom looks like blonde hair. That's so true. I've not noticed that, actually. Yeah. And Emma's put that she liked it and the descriptions were a bit out there, but that was all part of the fun. And yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that's why I love point horror so much as well. Things like that probably went over my head when I was a teen, but like as an adult, I probably find the smutty stuff more smutty than other people. But yeah, I think overall I really liked it.
Me too.
Yeah. So what we'll do, we'll wrap up because I know Amy's got to go because baby. Yeah, so baby bedtime. But thank you for joining me, Amy. I've really enjoyed it, and I've enjoyed like chatting all about the Cheerleader, and everyone who's joined in. It's been absolutely brilliant. And if you want to chat more, there'll be a blog post going up, and I'll do like an Insta post, or you can always DM me as well, and I'm always happy to chat anything point horror or anything. But yeah, it's been really great. Thank you very much, and I will put up another vote for next month's point horror book club, and I've got another guest lined up as well. So yeah, it will be really good. So I'll announce that in the next couple of days. But thank you all for joining in. Thank you, Amy. Thanks. Bye.